We saw how Apple shares are now at a new record high. These positive analyst notes from UBS, from Goldman Sachs. Is Apple out there communicating with analysts, giving them reason to be more optimistic?
One of the interesting things was from earnings the other week. They talked about the fact that the upgrade rate was relatively low, but they still managed to sell more iPhones in the most recent quarter. Now, the implications of that, of course, is that the added iPhones they sold were from new customers. So therefore, with a larger upgrade expected, a more significant upgrade expected later this year, tentatively named the iPhone 10, possibly the iPhone 8, that implies that more people, existing customers, will upgrade.
Of course, one of the debates around Apple is how much credit they should get for its services business. Some claim that they don't fully get that priced in the way other companies do. Is there any evidence that investors are repricing that source of revenue?
It was one of the things they did highlight in the earnings call, but I think there is still very much the expectation or the perception that Apple is the iPhone company. iPhone accounts for 2/3 of their sales. What they do in services is significant for any other company. They did last year about $24 billion in sales and services, but that's a very small percentage of the overall pie. And so, that's not really affecting their valuation at this stage.
So when it comes to Apple, we once again focus on the hardware, which is the next generation phone. You mentioned it will be either iPhone 8 or maybe iPhone X is something that we see in analyst notes a lot. UBS saying that there might be augmented reality included in the phone. This would be a game changer, right?
Well, Tim Cook actually did an interview with the British press last week with The Independent, where he said that he sees augmented reality as as significant a phenomenon as the iPhone itself, or as the smartphone. But augmented reality is a very broad spectrum. It's the likes of Pokemon Go could be considered augmented reality. They're quite rudimentary. You could take that to any number of levels. Things where you show your environment around you and you can see what's in shops and all that kind of idea. Now, we don't know if something is going to come in the next iPhone, to what extent it will be full AR.
Right, understood. Now, in terms of actually getting the stock price to the next level, it's at a record high, but everyone will be looking at what the company does with regard to its excess cash, dividends or buybacks. Apple only announces that once a year when it comes to buybacks. Are we looking at more cash being returned to shareholders?
I think that's always going to be likely. They're extending that, although what's interesting, if you look at their history, they've tended to extend the buybacks and the dividends in the times when there is a product lull. It kind of props up the share price. I saw some analysis recently which said that without those buybacks, their stock price would be closer to $100. The expectation of a, as I said, significant upgrade perhaps implies they won't need to do those kind of buybacks anymore to drive the stock growth. But the more significant consideration is what the Trump administration is likely to do in terms of reducing the tax costs of repatriating offshore cash.
Absolutely.
And that could free up money for that kind of movement.